Alex Lanier Art back with another creative mission. Now, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and click that post notification bell below because you don't want to miss any of these videos. So I have a lot of creative content coming and you need to be here for that. So I'll see you guys inside. Now, in this video, you're gonna see me transform this old New York photo I took of this back street, a pretty crowded back street, and transform it into this taxi waiting area where I have road taxis and I actually have these floating hot air balloon taxis that are kind of like a sci-fi tech inspired, hot air balloon transportation. So I have balloons that are kind of anchored onto the buildings, waiting on people to walk by. You have balloons floating off with customers that may have gotten a ride. But it's kind of just an idea that I had looking at this photo, and you're gonna see how it comes together. I used 3ds Max and I used Photoshop again for this image, and you're gonna kind of see how I pieced everything together and manipulate it into the image you're gonna see. Alright, see you guys inside. Alright, so I'm back in 3ds Max and I'm getting my 3D model together, texturing it. And I usually make my own textures in Photoshop unless I have, some pre-made textures that work for what I'm doing. But I'll pretty much, paint in or grab different textures and blend them together in Photoshop and use those for my 3D models. And now I'm getting my camera angle ready. So usually, based off the photograph that I'm going to be using, that I'm going to be compositing everything into, that's where I'll be basing my camera angle off. So right here, pretty much street level, looking up. So I want to make sure my camera target is facing up. So I'm looking up at the hot air balloons. So that's what you see right here. And move everything around and make sure everything is correct. A couple of little details I wanted to add in, a little drop ladder to kind of make it to where maybe this is how the people are getting up to the balloons. Yeah, so this is just creating the little handrail model, duplicating it. So just trying to get everything together, get the composition together now so I don't have to worry about it later. So you get everything worked out into the correct perspective of the photograph. So that's the good thing about dropping your photograph into 3ds Max, because you get all the perspective work done now and you don't have to worry about that later. Just now getting my lighting together, do another test render. Looking pretty good. You just want to do a quick test render just to see what the texture is looking like. So now I'm back in Photoshop. So now I'm just masking out the sky because I'm going to be replacing it with something a little different. This is what I came up with. And then you want to have the glows to match. So of course I use my curves. I like to use the curves for my glows. I like to blow out the image with the curves, mask it out, and then paint back in the glows. So that's what you see me doing right now, painting back in the glows to kind of match the sky, the lighting from the sky coming in. And I just wanted to use these yellow and orange, a yellow and orange color scheme to kind of go with the taxi. Dropping in my 3D model right now, populating a little bit more. I see, I needed a little bit more activity going in. Masking out, and that's very important. You want to mask out everything that's in the way of your 3D model just to make it look like it's actually a part of the photograph. Add any shadows, make sure you do that to your 3D model to match the scene a little bit better. Some drop shadows. this just grounds your image. This grounds your objects that you're placing in an image. You want to make sure your shadows are correct. Now you want to go in and you want to make sure the shadows are dark enough, because if they're not, they're going to look like things are floating off of what's supposed to be making contact with, different surfaces. So you don't want it to look like things are floating off when they're supposed to be making contact with the surface. So you want to make sure the shadows and the highlights are right. So I'm just adding that right now. And also, key tip is, usually your 3D model is going to come up a lot sharper than the photograph. So you want to make sure that you either blur or add noise to your 3D model to, easily blend it into the photograph. Adding in more glows and effects. And I can mess around with the glows and effects for years, so you gotta kind of be disciplined and know when to stop before you mess the image up. But I like to just play around to see what's the best look. Masking out little elements. Right now I'm trying to figure out that right color scheme. I don't want it to look too hazy with the yellow, but I want it to look surreal enough where that something strange is about to happen. Yeah. Adding in this little taxi texture I created onto one of the cars. Mask it out right. Couple little elements. Put a little bit of motion blur on it because the car is moving. You don't want it to look sharp and the car look blurry. Now I'm painting in some wires, some little charging wires, almost like the balloon is needing to be charged before it floats off. Some extra shadows, and you always gotta add that haze. Always add that haze. It just glues the image together. You want it to feel like it's in some kind of atmosphere where it's just a nice little haze that covers everything. Finding little details in there. Adding in some smoke because it's New York. Of course, you gotta have some kind of smoke, some kind of exhaust coming out of the sewer system in different areas. A few more little details in there. The charging station, just added some text, some simple text in there. A couple little more taxi logos, blend that in there. Use the warp tool to kind of shape your textures on there. Okay, so that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure you subscribe and click that post notification bell at the bottom so you don't miss any of the new upcoming videos. See you guys later.